Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Brandon, your trusted realtor, and I'm coming to you with an important disclaimer before we get into this particular interview. Now, I'm interviewing a housing counseling agency, and I'm only interviewing one. So that may seem a little odd, especially if you worked with me before. You're like, you've given me several lists of lenders, you give me several people who are home inspectors, and so let me explain to you my thought process. I reached out to maybe a dozen different housing counseling agencies with the hopes that at least a few of them would respond back, so that way I could coordinate multiple interviews and give you a sense of what the flavor and the energy was like at different housing counselors, so that way you can make a better decision as you go through the process. However, I did hear back, and I heard back from one housing counselor. So that's why we're only getting one particular message or one particular perspective on how housing counseling works, or from one housing counselor. I am not being incentivized or paid by this. You know that I'm all here about you as my audience, making sure you have the information that's going to be most informative. And to me, it made sense to have multiple parties give that message. However, we got what we got, and I think we got some really good content. So without any further ado, let's jump into the video. All right, so there's one other thing before we get started. There is about 38 seconds where like the signal freezes and I'm speaking, but I'm not moving. So it's like a relationship. It's me, it's not you. So don't start over, don't adjust your screen. I'm just letting you know. Other than that, the only other technical issue is that the home free person I'm talking to is logged in, and she's logged in via her phone. So when it flips over to her, you see an image of her telephone and not her beautiful face. But the message is still amazing.
I'd like to thank you for joining me on another episode that's going to be jam-packed full of information. I have an extremely special guest with me today. She is a professional at HomeFree USA and a mortgage specialty expert. Her company provides a host of resources to everyone in the masses, to both DMV, to those here that live in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and they have affiliate networks nationwide. So it is an amazing opportunity and honor for me to recommend, to recognize, and to say hello to Milan. How are you today? Oh, I don't think I could hear you. Did I? I think I may have. I think we may have you on mute. 1 second.
I'm unmuted now.
Oh, perfect. All right. So how are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How are you?
I am amazing. This weather has lightened up. As you know, you're in the region, I believe. So it has been hotter than a little bit.
Yeah, that's the truth. That is definitely the truth.
So I'm really excited about today because I know that we're going to be able to really shed some light on the home buying process and on your organization as well. I think that it's going to be really important for my audience to talk more about ways to demystify the process of buying a home and the services specifically that you all offer along the process. So I have always found that in the home buying process that future home buyers don't have a strategy before they actually get started with a transaction. In addition to not really having a strategy, there's a host of other things that come along with owning a home that sometimes are unknown or foreign to that particular individual, especially if they've never owned a property. So like, for example, home care and maintenance, right? Or just general routine maintenance and care for the property, or making sure that the yard is kept and presentable. All of those things over time are going to enhance the value and the aesthetic of the property. So your organization is approved by HUD, which is the Housing Urban Development Association. It's a federal government entity. We talked about that on the program before. And you all deliver housing finance counseling, especially to individuals who want to participate in things like the Prince George's Pathways program. Is that fair?
Yes, yep. You're exactly right. HomeFree USA, we are, as you mentioned, a HUD approved agency. So what that means is HomeFree USA, as well as many other organizations across the country, we are what you call housing counseling organizations. We follow strict rules and guidelines, and we are highly regulated through HUD. So when when first-time home buyers are looking to buy their home, instead of feeling like they have to do everything themselves or so much information and they don't know where to turn or what to do, and they're scared to go to the loan officer first or the realtor, they just need a little bit of guidance, credit help, understanding, and access to find down payment money. That's where housing counseling organizations like HomeFree USA, who are approved through HUD, that's where we come in.
And it's so important there's something you said that was really telling, is that sometimes individuals don't feel comfortable going to a realtor, and sometimes they don't feel comfortable going to a lender because they feel like the realtor is going to try to sell them something, and they feel like the lender is going to try to sell them something. And so they're like, whom can I go to that's a neutral party to get the information that I need? Because at this moment, I don't need you to sell me something. I just need to collect information. And you guys feel that kind of that.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
You provide that additional service, especially for realtors who aren't like myself, who kind of go a little bit above and beyond to try like provide more information. So talk to us about membership into your organization. How does that work? Is that like a free membership? Because I know it's housing counseling, and a lot of people may think because it's government, it's free, but how does that work?
Yeah, so, and I'm glad you mentioned something there that's really important. So with HomeFree USA, as well as other nonprofits or housing counseling organizations across the country, we are nonprofit organizations. And so as a nonprofit, people oftentimes think that means free. No, that means that we are really centered on benefiting the public, really helping communities to move up the financial ladder. And so we are on a path of making an impact, but we don't operate on air. So with HomeFree USA, we have a membership fee, we have a membership package, and basically it is very affordable. But folks, in order to get some guidance, understanding, credit help, help to get your money in line so that you can move from renting to owning, that's where home ownership comes. That's where HomeFree USA comes in with our membership package. So when people are just, they think they want to buy a home, they feel they get tired of renting, they call realtors like yourself, Brandon. When they get to this point of really making a move, whether they call the realtor first or call a lender first, it really, it's important for people to know a couple of things. Number one, the mortgage denial rate for people of color, specifically African American communities, can be double that of white and could be upwards of 30 to 50% of all Black applicants. Black people who apply for a mortgage can get denied. And we're talking about at major mortgage lenders. So it's really important to know that when you want to buy a home, there are still so many things you have to know and do, starting with your personal finances, to make sure that you are going to position yourself for loan approval. Because when you go to your mortgage lender, that loan officer, they're working with you, and their job is to provide you with the financing, the mortgage financing that you qualify for, and so you're best going to them when you are mortgage ready, have your finances in line and prepared. And so with HomeFree USA, as a housing counseling organization, we work with clients one-on-one. We help them to get their money in order. So for some people who come to us, they have a 700 credit score. They have money in the bank. They're making good money. Good money is relative, but they're making good money. But they still want and need some help to make sure their debt is in line. Some help to make sure that they have enough saved. Some help to see how they don't have to use all their savings when buying this home. And so that's where HomeFree USA comes in with our membership. We help, again, people to get the guidance and the counseling and the one-on-one attention that they need so we can help them to get their finances in order so they'll be mortgage ready and get that loan approved, help home buyers to find and qualify for down payment assistance that many people don't even know exists, and to give home buyers confidence because we're taking the time to really break down the deal so that as they go through this and as they're working with their realtor and their loan officer, they're even more confident and ready to move through the process with ease.
Awesome. Awesome summary of services. So, and we talked about in that summary, a lot of the services being upfront, kind of preparing you for that. What happens for an individual who comes in and they say, hey, I'm really ready to move forward. I've gone to the Google, I've done some searching here. What services do you offer to that type of client who is a little bit ready, who's ready to go, and maybe they're looking for post-settlement services? So post-settlement would be after you close in your home. For all of you guys out there listening, after you close in your home and you actually own the property and have the keys, the question that I'm asking Milan is, what are there services that their members can still access once you buy the property?
So thank you for that question. So with HomeFree USA, the primary service that we offer for homeowners is foreclosure prevention, loss mitigation, which is really important because when you buy a home, homeownership is a marathon. It's not a sprint. There's no real end in sight, and it's an investment. So you want to make sure that, I'm not going to say there's no end in sight, but that's a positive thing because you're using homeownership as a way to really help you move up the financial ladder. So it's part of a long-term plan to help you grow your finances. Homeownership is. But homeownership is also a big investment, and you want to make sure that you're prepared on the front end through information and education so that you can sustain that home on the back end. Now, many of us, we own a home for however long. That home may become, you may move out and the home may become your rental property, down the line. But the point is, as we go through life, our income changes. Like with COVID, one day many of us went to work, another day we came home and have no job, So with HomeFree USA, we help homeowners avoid foreclosure if you've experienced a loss of income and experience a loss of income and need help. We basically we work on behalf of the borrower. We help the borrower connect with their lender so that they can possibly qualify for a loan modification or what we call a mortgage workout option so the homeowner can avoid foreclosure. But again, homeownership is a long process. You want to make sure that even when you have income shortages and things like COVID happen, that you're in a good position and you don't lose your home to foreclosure. So HomeFree USA provides foreclosure prevention counseling and assistance so that you can get the plan needed to really stay on track with your mortgage.
And so that's really helpful information. So would it be a one-time cost that covers your membership as long as you have the home, or is it a recurring cost?
So it is. It depends on the service. So and things are changing rapidly, but depending on the service, it is $122 for our down payment. If you need down payment help, $149 if you need down payment help. If you need the credit help and the money, the pieces to get your money together. So that's one fee. If you're homeowner looking for foreclosure prevention services, that's actually free. So it really just depends on what your particular needs are. And folks can always give us a call or check out our website, and then we can talk more and just kind of break down what makes most sense for them.
Awesome. Thank you. That's awesome. So really great information to know. So on your website, you all mentioned that you all received $750,000 from Wells Fargo to help keep thousands of individuals in their home. Can you talk a little bit about that effort and how are your members benefiting from that?
Yeah. And so with the Wells Fargo initiative, well, I'll say Wells Fargo is HomeFree USA's biggest lending partner. They have invested they've made really generous contributions to HomeFree USA to help us expand homeownership amongst people of color, specifically the African American community. So that grant funding could have come, for a mixture of our services related to home buying or foreclosure prevention. But again, Wells Fargo does support us on a variety of different initiatives. So depending on when that money was launched, it could have gone to either helping home buyers move towards home ownership, as well as or helping homeowners avoid foreclosure. Last year, for example, Wells Fargo, we worked with Wells Fargo to launch a Step Into Your Power, Prepare for Success Through Homeownership campaign. This was in Baltimore, Maryland. We brought together thousands of families and really showing them and helping them to catch the spirit of homeownership, understand the value of homeownership, really getting folks charged up on why now is the time, but also giving folks the resources to be able to access homeownership beyond just getting pumped up the day of. And so with Wells Fargo, they complemented that big, large-scale home buying event with their Neighborhood Lift program, so that home buyers could get some money towards their home if they qualified. And they also, continue to invest in HomeFree, so we can work with clients and provide them the one-on-one help so that they can get assistance to ensure mortgage approval when they go back to Wells Fargo.
Oh, awesome. Awesome resource and awesome outreach opportunity for individuals, especially in that Baltimore area, because there's lots of opportunity for neighborhood stabilization there. I wanted to pivot just a wee bit and ask you more about being an approved housing counselor. HUD sometimes, in order to use programs like Pathways, they will say things, you have to use an approved HUD housing counselor. Why is it, do you feel, that HUD has created this need for housing counselors?
That's a great question. So when it comes to, at the end of the day, when HUD created a need for housing counselors, because a couple of reasons. Number one, your home, especially and specifically for Black folks, people of color, our home equates to the largest amount of our wealth. So we're talking about 92% of the average wealth of minority communities and Black people specifically. About 92 to 95% is made up in your home. And so just like someone would have a financial advisor who they call to help to figure out what stocks to invest in, what to do with their 401k, you need that for your home ownership, for your home too, because your home is such a great foundation of not only wealth, but also life building, that HUD saw the need for people to be able to get easy to understand information, unbiased information, and information that's really geared towards the consumer to help renters move from renting to home ownership more gracefully. With so many, again, communities of color, specifically the Black community, we have been purposely left out of home ownership for decades. And as a result, it has through redlining and housing discrimination. And as a result, it's created such a wide wealth gap. But when you're not allowed to do something, when you're not allowed to access a loan, when you're not allowed to participate in home ownership, you don't know how it works. You don't have your father talking to you about it. You don't have your mother talking to you about it. It's probably not a household conversation for most of us. So housing counseling is a great equalizer, I like to say. Housing counseling is an opportunity. It's affordable. The great thing is home ownership advisors, also known as housing counselors, they go through rigorous testing with HUD. They are certified. They're now undergoing what they're saying. And so because home ownership is such a big investment, it's such a big part of financial portfolio. And because we have that investment, housing counseling is great because it breaks down something so complex, something so hard, and helps people move towards home ownership without feeling defeated and without feeling like they can't because they don't have a plan.
And you know, I think that really goes to helping some people understand that are listening to this and that are going to continue to watch this all the way through, which is, why am I going to pay for something to get this information when I have somebody like Brandon who's giving me information? But I'm licensed in 3 areas, DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and I can only service those areas. Laws change all the time. You all have affiliations nationwide. And one of the, I think, really important points that you tease out is that on the front end, or at least I think is important to kind of carve out, is that on the front end as a real estate agents, especially when they're helping buyers to prepare for a home and to get into a home, they do not get paid. We do not get paid for any of that preparatory work. We don't get paid for any of that. And if you just wake up one day and the wind changes and you choose to go work with somebody else, and I've gotten you 98% of the way there, that's no transaction for me. Or if you decide that, hey, I'm going to talk to you as a real estate agent for 2 months, and I'm going to, pick your brain and get all this information, and then you never choose to buy a property, then you've gotten a wealth of information that's really invaluable information. Even the information I leave on my YouTube channel, amazingly valuable information, but you're getting that for pennies on the dollar, right? Where there are professionals and organizations like yours, Home Counseling, and even so much so that a federal entity, HUD, saw it appropriate to allow a space for housing counselors to exist and to charge a fee in order to provide this type of services to them, to the people. So I think sometimes that people kind of in their experiences with realtors, they're like, well, this realtor never called me back and we never talked. And when I talked to them, they're like, well, that was 3 months ago. Well, most realtors are living in the, can I get you in a house in the next 30 days? Right. Are you ready to buy it right now? And so this really, I think, helps people understand the phases. I actually just had a conversation. I had 3 conversations this past weekend with people ready to buy. 2 of them wanted to buy in November or December, but that conversation still was. I'm still one of those people. I'll follow up with you continuously, but some people don't do that, and you'll never hear from them again. And you're like, wow, they told me about this program and now I don't know anything about it. You guys kind of fill that gap to make sure there's a consistent resource there that can answer those questions for them.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's so important what you said from the perspective of the realtor, because this happens a lot. More of us in general want to buy a home than necessarily want to do the work to buy the home. And when you're approaching this process, it's a lot of work. But anything worth having, when you're talking about walking into, I'm not going to say walking into, but when you're talking about investing into a home, let's think about how important this decision is and what this actually means for your money and for your life. Mm-hmm. So, and then I want to address what you mentioned to Brandon right after, leading back into that. But when you're buying a home, let's just say for me, my example, I bought my home at 29 years old. Any age, we helped a couple buy their home, and they were 82 and 84 years old. So you could be any age. You just have to do the one. You just have to want and do the work. And so I bought my home in 29. When I bought my home in DC, I bought my home for $250,000. My home appreciated and has gone up in value. And so now my home is worth about $500,000. So now, give or take, I have a $250,000 worth of equity. Mm-hmm. Now, another example, if I was to go into an apartment and rent it, the same thing. Let's just say I rented the exact same house I bought. Let's say I rented it and didn't buy it. I would have ended up paying rent every month. But see, now, not only as an owner do I have $250,000 in equity after my home is appreciated, I also have fixed payments. So every month, regardless of my increase in value, I have more money in this home. My increase in value, I'm still paying $1,600 a month for my mortgage. So about, it changes a little bit, but for the most part, it's a very predictable payment. Even though my home has gone up in value now, this side is the owner. On the side of the renter, let's say if I rented this exact same house on the side of the renter, what would have happened is this home would have gone up in value and my rent would have risen as well, because now the prices are more expensive. So when you're renting, the prices are going up, but the value that you're getting is going down because you're paying more for the same exact place. But when you own, you are paying depending on the type of mortgage, you get a fixed payment. Although, and everything, I'm just speaking very generally, although your home is going up in value, fixed payment up in value, rent up in value. No, you get nothing from that. You get higher payments. So saying all that to say, when you're going through this process, it's a lot of money on the line and it's a lot of time. The loan officers, they have a particular role. Their role is, again, to help you navigate through the financing and access to mortgage product that is right for you based on what that lender offers. For a realtor, just like you said, you all are really kind of at the helm of the process, which is important. A lot of people trust and really follow the realtor, which is important. But we also have to respect the realtor and say that, every time we pick up that phone, we have to, as home buyers, have to be ready to really also do the work to move it forward, because they're not like, realtors are not there just to kind of talk you through the transaction. They want you to take action. And so with that said, HomeFree USA is here to help you as a realtor save time and money by way of working with your clients to not only get approved, but to help to access down payment programs to increase their affordability so they can be a bit more competitive. And then on the home buyer, it helps you to save time and gain the confidence to go through and move through the process because you have an easy to follow plan. And together, we're all winning.
Exactly. And I think that MP says it all perfectly, together, because we are all in this together, because it's such an expensive transaction. And on the front end, you get so much really free information, especially if you're working with a knowledgeable agent like myself. You start with home counseling and you get a little bit. It's almost like you said, it takes someone really wanting to do the work and being willing to invest in themselves in order to see dividends in return. Like I always say that if you're not in the game, no one has ever really won a championship ring without being in the game. You have to play. You have to be an active participant. And that comes with counseling and preparation and everything you mentioned. I want to we talk a lot about your services, and you talked about the African-American community, the Black community, and previously it kind of goes without saying, DC used to be called Chocolate City, and the demographics are changing. You talked about purchasing your house at 29, which is an amazing age to have that insight and to purchase it for $250,000 and now having a valuation close to $500,000. That is huge. There's so many people that I talk to that are DC natives or live in DC or live in the region and have not pulled the trigger yet, especially right now with interest rates being so low. And the underlying common denominator I have especially when I'm working with clients of color, is I'm nervous. I'm uncertain. And it's almost the fear and the uncertainty almost paralyzes them from making the decision to put themselves in a quote, and I say this with air quote unquote, better situation. I personally feel that buying a home is a better, especially if you're teetering to thinking about it, it makes sense to invest in yourself than to, give them, I'm a landlord as well, versus giving that money to me as a landlord. I still want my people to rent. However, I still want you to buy a house too.
Me too. My renters too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you all, my question becomes, when you all are working with clients and they have that fear, how do you all help them with that?
Well, a couple things. When a person, we help people overcome the fear of becoming a homeowner, because a lot of that fear is really based in an I can't philosophy. I can't get my credit together because, it's too bad to fix I can't buy a home because this is not the right time. My lease is done to expire for another 12 months. So it becomes a kind of a cycle of excuses, as to why they can't. So we help people really overcome that can't mentality by helping them to see how they can reach home ownership. But again, it does go back to what you said. You got to pull the trigger and you got to take the first step, because you can only kind of window shop and browse Facebook and browse Instagram and go online and log into your YouTube channel before you really just have to pick up the call and say, hey, Brandon, I'm ready to move forward, or hey, HomeFree, let's get this going. And once you do that, then HomeFree USA is there to really help you develop a I can mentality, because we provide you and we help you to create easy to follow plan, easy to follow credit plan if that's the piece, and just a easy to follow money plan, I should say that. We provide you with action steps. If you do this, then based on what we see, if you do this, then this will happen, which will get you closer to mortgage readiness. So we provide you with the action plan. You have access to the homeownership advisors. You can call them if you have questions. We have classes, and then a big area where people think they can't, and they think that it's a real stopping point for buying, really has to do with the amount of money they think they need to put down. As a first-time home buyer, you don't, and I'm saying this, of course, generally, but it would be very far-fetched that you would have to put 20% down. People are buying homes and they're putting down less on their new home than they did on a new car, depending on which car, and less than they would on a new apartment. And so security deposit and all. And so let's not create these rumors in our head. And that's why I appreciate you, Brandon, and with your realtea TV, your YouTube channel, because it is helping to demystify a lot of the misconceptions. But the point is, at HomeFree USA, we are really here to help you develop an I can mentality, because we are providing you with easy to understand, proven, trusted plans that are personalized to you and helps you to get financially ready for mortgage approval and helps you to find and access down payment and closing cost assistance. Last thing I'll say is, many people, it may be better for you not to access down payment and closing cost assistance. And so we'll let you know that too. Sometimes it doesn't serve you, but the point is, you have an advisor, you have a partner, you have a guide, and you have somebody who's expert, certified, and that can really lead you through, instead of talking to your cousin and auntie and all these other people that are going to tell you 30,000 different answers.
Oh, yes. You know what? Powerful. Everything that you said. I'm a firm believer of not talking to street realtors or street housing experts, because everyone will give you their experience. And sometimes their experience is a little bit negative because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. So
exactly.
Been,
but it's a lot to. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off. It's a lot to know in the process, And so if you have a realtor who knows everything about the mortgage side, something's wrong. Now, the realtor should be knowledgeable, but the realtor has a job. They should be very knowledgeable about that job. The lender has a job. They should be very knowledgeable about that job. The homeownership advisor has a job. If everybody kind of stays in their lane and work together, we can all really help more folks, and folks will feel more confident going through the process.
Exactly. Well, this has been amazing. This has been awesome. I thank you so much for taking the time today to really share this message of really helping people understand what housing counseling is, because I think sometimes people say, oh, housing counseling, that information is free, I get it online. But really the reality is, not all agents are created equally, just like not all housing counseling services are created equally. But HUD has gone through a very rigorous process to make sure that organizations are out there, are qualified, and they're not going to charge you hundreds or thousands of dollars in order to get this information. So this is an amazing resource. Also, Milan, I want to give you a moment. If someone's interested, how do they get in contact with you? How do they get in touch with you to go ahead and to sign up and inquire more about your services?
So if you're interested in HomeFree USA, please feel free to give us a call at 855-493-4002. That's 855-493-4002. Or simply just type in homefreeusa.org in your search engine, homefreeusa.org, or just type in HomeFree USA, and we'll pop right up.
Awesome. So I'd like to thank you all for tuning in and staying tuned in throughout this amazing, informative series. If you have any other questions, please make sure you leave those down in the comments, and we'll make sure we get to you and get back to you. Remember, 2020 is not a miss. This is still your time. This is still your year, and the time is now. Thank you so much, Milan.
Thank you.